Protests are also expected abroad, like here in France. We're joined now by Fred Hoffman of Democrats Abroad, the Democratic Party's official overseas organisation. Thanks for speaking to us here on France 24.
Thank you.
I assume that you'll be taking part and people in your organisation will be taking part in these protests in France today?
Good morning, and thank you for the invitation. Interestingly enough, I will not, and I will tell you why. We're having our general meeting this afternoon, which has been in place for months and months, but we will have a lot of people from Democrats Abroad there, and people will leave early. Unfortunately, I'm on the executive committee and I can't. I will be there in spirit.
So is it going to be, nevertheless, the biggest anti-Trump protest yet in France, do you think?
I'm hoping so, and I think that it will not just be Americans. I think there will be people who are feeling the brunt of what Donald Trump is doing on a global level. So we're happy for other people to join, and it will be, nonviolent, different than often the Trump rallies are. So we're hoping for big numbers, and it's not just here in France. You know, it's happening across the states, and it's happening actually across the world. So you're going to see a lot of people speaking up today.
Now, talking to the Democrat community here in France, what are people's biggest fears about what's happening under Trump?
There's many, and I don't have the time this morning, I think, to tell you. I think you're aware of many of them. But one thing I can tell you for us, someone like myself, I've been living in France for almost 36 years, and I've been voting from here since then. And the Trump administration is trying to make it very difficult for Americans, not just Democrats, Americans and military, to vote from abroad. And if he starts taking away our right to vote, we're really leaning towards an autocracy or a dictatorship. Besides that, it's Social Security, it's Medicaid, it's Medicare. I have family back in the States. My family is not here. And it's on every level. It's just taking away our civil rights, all of the anti-LGBTQ, anti-trans, against abortion. There's just so many things. Like I said, there's too many shiny objects that I would have to stay with you for about an hour this morning to talk about it.
And from what I gather, the US is one of the few countries where if you're a citizen, you still have to pay tax when you live abroad. Are any of your members in France ever tempted just to give up their American citizenship, go the full French?
I'm sure that there are, and you're right. We are double taxed. We have to abide by certain laws, which are a little bit crazy. But it can be expensive also to give up your French nationality. I did not. I didn't choose to do that. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised right now of what's happening. I find it sad if that would be the situation. But anyway, yeah, it is possible.
And in terms of Trump's comments about Marine Le Pen recently, this must affect, people in your organization particularly.
Yes, but I have to say that I really can't speak on that because we don't speak on national issues here in France. What I would like to speak on is the attack on Americans in the United States by the Trump administration. And I think you've seen with rising prices, what's happening now with what we're calling the Trump taxes, the tariffs. It's causing chaos for everyone. People are worried about their future. They're worried about their jobs. They're worried about their Social Security, for their families, for seniors, for handicapped people, taking away civil rights, like I said. So we're more concerned with that. And sure, it's concerning here. But again, I'm sorry, I can't comment on national issues here in France.
You'll be aware more than anyone that the pervading discourse around the Democrats is that they're not doing enough. They're burying their head in the sand. The opposition leadership is kaput. Is today the day that changes?
No, first of all, that is not true. And even some of my friends say, where are the Democrats? First of all, we are not in power. So you're not seeing certain things, one. Two, there are tons of things going on behind the scenes. And even which people are seeing, we're having people like Senator Warren, Senator Klobuchar. You saw Cory Booker. You just put that, who are speaking up, who are starting investigations, who are talking with the Justice Department. What's interesting, we find, is that Trump is basically overwhelming the system. And like I said, there's a shiny object here, there's a shiny object here. And the press is basically covering all the craziness that's happening constantly. They are not covering a lot of what is going on. Some people don't even know who some of the people are in the Democratic Party, so maybe they're not as interested. But We are seeing it. As you might have seen also yesterday, President Obama spoke up, Vice President Kamala Harris spoke up. But, there's an kind of unspoken pact between past presidents that they don't criticize the current administration. Of course, Trump was the only one that did and continues to by criticizing Biden. So there's another thing I just want to mention is that the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, has new leadership. And I believe that right now they are looking at the right strategy to go forward. I don't think it's smart to just start doing things and saying things without a clear strategy. Obviously, the question I have often is, do the Democrats recognize what happened in the election? Yes, but we're also learning from that. And we didn't win the election, so we need to look at ourselves. We do have the people like AOC, Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez. There's a lot of young people. Bernie Sanders, who is still very popular. And we will have a clear strategy. We're looking at the midterms. And there is a lot going on. So it's not like they're just waking up. They've been awakened for, and I don't want to say woke, but awakened for that.
But you're not denying in any case that there is a current crisis that the Democratic Party has to traverse.
A constitutional crisis with Donald Trump, not a crisis in the party, no.
But I take that from Democrats in Congress who are saying that the Democrats have a trust problem, have a narrative problem, have a vision problem. There are problems to get over.
I'm saying, sure. I mean, they're obviously, like I said, we didn't win the election, and people are, a little disappointed. They're disappointed in general in politics. And so we have to communicate better, and we have to have clear strategies. But I think that, not just myself, that as we go forward and we see the destruction of what is going on in the United States, it's, like I said, I've been in France for a very long time, but I don't recognize the country that I was born and grew up in. And I believe that when people's pocketbooks are going to be really touched profoundly and all of our rights taken away, and basically Trump is looking at the United States like it's his property, I do believe that people are going to listen to the Democrats with a clear strategy to move forward. But yes, we've got work to do. There's no question about that, but I feel very confident that we will make the right moves in the right direction.
And French people, more than anyone, can read the streets, if you like. They will go out onto the streets and make their voices heard if something is wrong. So they look at what's happening now, they compare it to the protests after George Floyd, and they think, where is the opposition? So there must surely be some sort of anticipation or expectation for this to change today and for us to start seeing big numbers in the US.
Yes, no, I agree. It's interesting because the fact I've been here for so long, I was a little shocked sometimes even when I saw high school students here going on strike and protesting. Obviously, I've been here a long time. And it's not in the culture of the U.S. to do that. Yes, you're right, with something like George Floyd, but there was such an outrage there. And I truly believe that so many Americans right now are stunned at what is going on. And somewhere they were hoping that they could rely on the Justice Department and Democrats across the nation for a lot of what is happening, or to help them. The problem, again, is we're not in power. So I do believe that it's the people who are going to make the difference. They're going to make the difference with their voices and with their vote. And hopefully it will stay nonviolent. I believe that that's the direction. No one wants that to happen. But I do believe that you're going to see more and more. I truly think that people are stunned. And, you've heard of this Project 2025. This is exactly the strategy that the Republicans wanted. Overwhelm the system. People don't know where to go. They're saying one thing here. They wake up the next morning. There's something else going on. They don't even know. So now people are finally getting together. They're organized. And I do believe you're going to see a lot of people out on the street today.
Yeah, and if people don't know what's going on, they can follow it on France 24, of course, especially if they're turning off their American channels and coming to us instead. All the better. Listen, Fred Hoffman, thanks so much for your time. Thanks for speaking to France 24.
Thank you.